We live in strange times.
Yep.
Yeah.
We live in strange times.
Yep.
Yeah.
We live in strange times.
Loud.
What up?
You got LeBron. Cavalier LeBron though.
So let's just go and then wait for him.
Yeah, you there?
Yes, sir. What's going on, Mr. Troy and Mr. Rashad?
What's going on, bro?
How you doing?
How's everything going for you guys today?
Everything good, man.
Good,
Everything good.
We got video? All right.
Turn it on. Other way, other way.
Okay, hold on.
Look at this guy.
Go.
Look at
There
this
you go.
guy. I mean, look at this guy.
Do it.
He wearing the right apparel and all that.
You know I got to represent Mario Leisure right
I like that. Good shirt. Good shirt.
It look good with the blazer.
here.
Yeah, man. How's everything?
Man, everything's been super good. You know, I had 2 webinars earlier today, and then I had a phone call with WGCI early in the morning. So we're doing pretty good today, rocking and rolling. The second week of the camp. Can't wait till next week though.
Yeah, Chicago zone.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna give the introduction for anybody that may not know who Ian is. So we met Ian in Chicago when we were in Chicago with September,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
for
was in September.
a networking event that we had. And yeah, he's interesting. So he's 14 years old, he's an entrepreneur, and he has a homeschool training program to teach children how to code, like teenagers and even younger than that, how to code. And he was doing it, it's ironic now, it's like perfect timing, because he was doing this for years. He's been homeschooled for years.
Yeah.
And he started the nonprofit, which is called Dream Hustle Code, before all of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
So now I think it's perfect timing to have this conversation, because now everybody's homeschooled. They have no choice. They have no choice but to be homeschooled now.
Man, this is we got some things to get into, man. Like obviously I work in education, so homeschooling is a different reality, but it's been your reality. So I got some questions, man. Maybe you can help me as an educator. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me, allowing me to be on your platform to just discuss, you know, computer science and why it's important for everybody to learn it, especially kids. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. So you want to start it off?
Yeah, man. I want to start back to the 3rd grade, man, because that's where your story kind of starts. Now, my fond memories of 3rd grade were getting the chicken pox. You probably don't even know anything about that. You don't know anything about that. Your age group doesn't get that. But in 3rd grade, you got inspired by seeing one of your favorite basketball players, Chris Bosh.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit.
So it started off with my mom finding a video on Facebook. Now, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg posted something, and the video was called "What Most Schools Don't Teach," and she was intrigued because, you know, Mr. Zuckerberg barely posted at the time, and so, you know, she tried to get me to watch the video, and I really wasn't interested because, number one, I was doing my homework. Number two, it looked boring, and 3, I didn't see any black people in the video. It was just all older white men. And so, you know, she's played the video anyway because it's mom, of course. And so Mr. Chris Bosh, he came in during the middle and started talking about how he thought coding was cool and how he was in an after school program called the Whiz Kids in high school. You know, that drew my attention because at the time he was my favorite basketball player, or one of my favorite basketball players, and he played my favorite sport, and he was black too, somebody who looked like me, and
Mhm.
so it immediately drew my attention. And so my mom says I watched the video about 10 times that night, but I don't believe it. It was more like 3. So anyway, we decided to bring Code.org's Hour of Code event to my school that in December of 2013. And so, you know, we had some amazing feedback. My friends continued to actually do the programs that they learned at home. And so we received an avalanche of phone calls from parents saying how their kids were like so intrigued on their laptops doing this coding thing. And they
Yeah.
kept asking us what it was. And so a couple parents asked us what we were going to do next. And so that's what led us to create or co-found the nonprofit organization Dream Hustle Code in 2014.
So at this time, you're in a public school or private school? But this is before
I was in
homeschool.
public school. I went to Skinner North Elementary School on the north side of Chicago.
That's dope. So, you know, the interesting thing about what inspires you is the same thing that kind of inspired us. Like I was working in education, and in my mind, I knew that there were certain things that weren't being taught in school. So that's when I reached out to Shadi. I'm like, yo, can you teach financial literacy? Because I know kids don't learn. I was dealing with high school kids. Same kind of thing that inspired you. Now, before you started coding, did you have a distinct interest in computers? Or we just playing, what are we doing? Video games, what are we doing?
Honestly, I was just playing 2K13 at the time, all day, every day. You know, that was pretty much it. I didn't really develop a love for, you know, being on the internet or dealing with computers until after the fact. It kind of stemmed from, it actually really all started with learning computer science. Then it developed into me watching YouTube videos about, you know, people coding and also people building PCs. And then it stemmed into what it was today. But at first, no, I was not into computers like that. It didn't start off. It all really started because of that video.
So as far as coding, can you talk about why coding is, we're gonna talk about your program, but why is coding so important? I know I was talking to your dad today and he was saying that in the city of Chicago, it's like, it's, I don't even think it's mandated, but computer science is like very, very low on the totem pole when it comes to the stuff that's mandated. And Troy's a teacher and he's in education. And, you know, a lot of times I feel, I'm sure you probably feel the same way, that the core curriculum, like the things that they're actually teaching children and young adults in school is not really going to prepare them. Like we talk about Amazon's having a grocery store with no cashiers at all.
Right.
Everything is done by computer and artificial simulation, all of that. And it's like tech, I say all the time, tech is not the wave of the future, it's right now. So it's encouraging to see somebody, you know, as young as yourself into tech and into coding. But like how important is it, and how not utilized, or how lacking is it in the public school system?
Well, in Chicago, they recently just implemented this within the last 3 or 4 years. They said that you only have to take one computer science class in order to graduate from high school. Now, this is happening in this year. They said that there will be, in 2014, they said that there will be 1 million jobs in computer science and tech that will be available in this year. And so we just implemented having only one class of experience in computer science. And that's not enough to be able to fill up those jobs and for us kids to be able to compete in this tech economy. In fact, leaders like Mark Zuckerberg and even Bill Gates, they were saying how they needed more workers because they didn't have enough people to fill those jobs up. And they even petitioned Congress to get computer science in more schools. But this honestly is this is a huge opportunity for us, because this is the first time in history that Black and brown people, we have the opportunity to build generational wealth through not only business ownership, but to also get jobs in computer science. And we don't need large sums of money to get started. And so if we really go after this, we can come out on top just because of our culture alone.
Yeah, one of the things, it's funny you said it doesn't take a lot of money to get started. I know, I read that you started a cookie business first.
Right.
So Beyond the Cookie was the nonprofit. That was your idea, mom's idea? Whose idea came with, like, we're going to sell cookies and use that money to help computer science education?
Well, okay, so we got to take this back to third. Oh, this is weird because a bunch of this stuff started in third grade. So my mom, she loves baking, she loves cooking. And so she started baking cookies again for the first time in my life when I was in third grade. You know, she makes a really mean cookie. I mean, it's so amazing. It's probably better than Mrs. Fields. I'm not even gonna say, I'm not even gonna debate it, but it's probably better than Mrs.
We're gonna need
Fields.
samples. Now we're gonna need samples.
We'll be sure to get you those. But so I started taking them to school during lunchtime, and like I would sell one cookie for $1, and I'd come out of school with $15 a day. And like I continued to ask my mom, "Can you make more cookies?" And then she started asking questions like, "Why are you having me make all these cookies?" And so I told her I started selling them for my friends to buy them, because I knew there was a market and that people really love the cookies. And so around that same time, we started Dream Hustle Code, and then it just made sense. Why don't we use my mom's amazing cookies, sell those to help raise funds for computer science education? And it went hand in hand. But right now we're rebranding right now, because we had a little bit of a slow start, but we're getting back in the phase where we're rebranding.
Yeah, so Dream Hustle Code, it didn't start out as a coding program, right? It started out as a book series that you were trying to write for kids. Is that true?
No, so Dream Hustle Code did start off with a book series, or with the computer science, but I actually started Dream Hustle Code, the book, back in about 2015, 2016. So it actually stemmed from us hosting multiple hour of code events, and also a free summer coding camp back in 2014. And so what inspired me to write this book, or start the journey to writing this book, was because during all of our events, one of the things that we noticed was that whenever kids came across a challenge or an obstacle, they wanted to give up or quit. And so I've been learning personal development since I was 4 years old. I've been listening to people like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Pastor Joel Osteen, Bishop T.D. Jakes, and even Eric Thomas.
At 4 years old.
Pardon me?
I said at 4 years old?
Yes, sir. My dad, he would
incredible.
always play it in the background while he was like getting ready for the day. And I just started listening to it, and it just caught on, and I've been doing it ever since. And so, I've been doing personal development since then. So we came up with the idea, why don't you interview highly successful people, write it in the book through the point of view of a kid, for kids to understand it better? Because we understand that when another kid tells them something, it resonates on a deeper level than if an adult shares with them. Because kids, they're not really listening to they're hearing them, but they're not really listening to them. But when another kid says it, it just resonates deeper.
So coding, can you just give me a 101 explanation? Because I'm like the worst when it comes to technology.
Yeah, we're gonna give you like an inside secret. This guy knows he's not tech savvy at all.
I'm not tech savvy at all. So, coding, what exactly is coding, like on a ground level, for somebody like myself to fully understand?
Right, so coding is also called computer programming, and there are multiple languages that you can use to basically program your computer to do a certain set of actions. You can use languages such as JavaScript, HTML, Python, Swift to build websites, apps, animations, a whole bunch of things that you can use on the internet. But in layman's terms, you're programming a computer to do a certain set of actions.
Okay. So as far as your program, right, Dream Hustle Code, so you have a homeschool program where you're teaching kids how to code, right?
Right. So it's actually really started because everyone's been on break because of the coronavirus. It's actually a mini boot camp that we hosted. It's for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, just to really get them started on their journeys into this tech space, or into computer science. Now, this class wasn't really set up to help them master computer programming yet. It was more so set up to introduce it into them through personal development and computer science, and give them the basics so that they can in turn take this journey on their own. Because we want them to eventually, once they get out of the boot camp, to go explore more and go deeper into the dive of learning computer science and coding.
Okay. So like, what is how long is a boot camp?
So it honestly depends. It's on a weekly basis, $25 per week. We do it Monday through Friday from 11 p.m. Central, or 11 a.m. Central Time to 1 p.m. Central Time. And we started off with the basics. Like this week, I have my second group of kids. We're doing a wonderful job. But really, we're just trying to build it up, is see if we can get as many kids as possible, because we're trying to get 1 million kids to learn computer science, like Mr. Robert F. Smith said before. So we're doing our part and trying to start this off through the boot camp.
And you're instructing all the classes?
Yes, I'm teaching the basics through it, yes. And using different programs like Grasshopper, Code.org, Khan Academy, and even Code Academy as well.
Now, that's not an easy task, man, especially, right now with a lot of my colleagues who are struggling to conduct classes online, being that the climate that we're in. are some strategies that you're doing to using to keep everybody coming back and engaged while you're doing this online?
Well, for me, more so, I don't really look at it as being a teacher. It's more so I'm coaching you. I'm just a mentor and I'm guiding you through the journey, right?
Mhm.
You know, some things I figured out quickly was that you're gonna have to do a different set of things, especially with kids that are younger. You know, these are middle school kids, not high school kids.
Mhm.
So one thing that I found was playing music. Whenever we were starting to do coding, I put together a playlist through recommendations of the kids that are in the class, and I start playing the music while they're coding, or even in the beginning. Also, I play motivational videos on YouTube so that they can see visuals from people like Eric Thomas, Les Brown, even Mr. Steve Harvey, you know, so that they can, because kids that are in middle school, they're more visual learners and they like to see things. If I'm just sitting here talking the whole time, they're going to get bored. So my goal is to not talk as much, but to go straight into the lessons and talk about computer science and also personal development as well. Like in the beginning of the week, we first started off with writing their goals for 2020. I had them write out a list of things they wanted to accomplish in the year. On the second day, or on Wednesday, we had them create their vision boards using Pinterest, right? We had them take visual pictures of what they wanted to accomplish in their lives, like what house they wanted to get, what kind of car they want, what their health looks like, how much money do they want to make, if they want to have a library full of books. We went through that whole program. And then we went through things, personal development strategies that will help them stay on task and stay disciplined through things. And so really it's just making sure that you ask them questions and get their feedback, because you don't really want to talk the whole time or else they'll just get bored.
Somebody said, what coding language are you teaching?
So right now I'm using JavaScript on Grasshopper, just using block coding. We're not moved on to the type coding yet, but for now we're using JavaScript, and eventually we'll introduce them to HTML and CSS and Swift as well.
Yeah, well, I was watching an HBO special. It's interesting you said that, because a lot of times kids, and we kind of trying to combat that as well. The only things we think we can become are sports athletes or entertainers.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I heard somebody say was like, listen, if somebody becomes a coder, there's a 100% chance they're going to get drafted into the league of their choice, right? Into the world
Exactly.
of technology. Whereas 1 out of 1 million are going to get drafted into a professional league. What are some careers that people can do once they've now decided computer programming is a thing for the future?
Right. So, you know, there's plenty of careers. They actually use computer science in more things than you think. Like we went to our trip to Silicon Valley and we visited Netflix. Now most of us had no idea that Netflix was a tech company, but they had, you know, computer scientists who were in graphic designing. They had engineers. They had people, you know, helping create the Netflix movies. You know, you can go in all sorts of spaces, or you can also create your own tech companies as well. You know, computer science is the future. It's going to be used in every single space. It's actually the now. So it's going to be used in every single space, in every field imaginable.
Yeah, it's extremely important, especially for parents, like I said, because it's like your kids are at home now, right? And they probably wasn't even learning anything when they were at school.
Easy, man.
I mean, that's just the reality. And then, you know, so now it's going to be even tougher, right? So it's like now you have to actually take the bull by the horns. But this actually might be a blessing in disguise, because now if you're at a traditional school, then you have to go by the program, and you might not be able to fit computer coding in. But if you have, you know, the homeschool, you might be able to fit it in during the course of the day. And at the end of the day, nothing in this day and age is more valuable than computer skills. Because no matter what industry, no matter what field you're in, computers and technology affects it in a large way. Yeah. And it's only going to continue to affect it and continue to shape the course. So it's like it's like learning a language. The easiest way to teach a child Spanish or any language is to teach them when they're young. The same thing with the language of technology, coding. It's easier to learn it as a young person than it is when you're 50. Not to say you can't learn it as an adult, but it's easy. That's why they say you have to expose children to things. And not only is it easier for them to catch on, but now they actually enjoy it, and it opens their mind to a whole different world. So I want to ask, can we take some Zoom questions if anybody has a Zoom? Well, I wanted to, so you met with Robert Smith. Anybody familiar? Robert Smith is the richest Black person in America, billionaire. tight in the world of business. How did that conversation come about, and what is some of the things that some gems? I'm pretty sure he shares a lot of information that you took away. Like, can you detail that conversation for me?
Right. So honestly, it really all started with God. He's the one that pieced all the puzzles together to even allow me to be situated to stand in front of him and have a 5-minute discussion with him. But it really started back in 2017. We had a list. We made a long list of 400 people I wanted to interview for my book, and he happened to be in that list. And so my mom reminded me and told me his net worth at the time, I think it was around like $3 or $4 billion. And so it was ironic because that same week I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Mr. Greg Calhoun, who's the CEO of Calhoun Superfoods, and he was close friends with Mr. Smith at the time. Rest in peace to Mr. Calhoun, of course. But after my interview, I got a chance to speak. He got on the phone with Mr. Smith's aunt, and he allowed me to speak with her to ask if I could get connected with Mr. Smith. And so, we spent a year and a half trying to go back and forth, trying to see if I could talk to Mr. Smith and ask him if I could interview him for my book, because we didn't get a yes or no answer. So fast forward to October 2018. This was during a trip where I interviewed Miss Oprah Winfrey when we visited California. I got a chance to interview the CEO or founder of Scholly, which is a app that's used to help high school students find scholarships for college. His name is Mr. Christopher Gray. And so we knew that he was connected with Mr. Smith. And so at the end of my interview, I asked him if he would introduce me to him so I can interview him for my book. He said, of course. He helped us tremendously. In fact, in March of 2019, he gave us 2 tickets for us to attend the UNCF Gala, 75th annual gala, out in Washington, D.C. We went there, and before the event started, his aunt, Miss Wilson, introduced me to him, and I got a chance to speak to him for a few brief moments. And, I asked him if I could interview him for my book. He said yes. But when the event started, he had a little speech, and he actually shouted me out and was proud of the work I was doing, because I was doing the same work, similar work he was doing, by trying to get kids into computer science education. Now, I haven't really interviewed him yet, and I'm gonna schedule that really soon. We're working together to try and get that soon. Even though this coronavirus has, stopped a lot of movement for trying to do in-person interviews, I'm working to get it scheduled soon.
That's powerful, man. Now, one of the things you said was you took that trip to Silicon Valley. Now, I know you brought some of the camp participants with you. A lot of times, and we say this a lot, man, in order for us to really want to be something, we have to see it. And the power of presence is a real thing, right? So what was that like when the young adults that you brought, and I'm sure yourself, when you started to see these people be inspired by people that look like them? What was that like?
Well, I mean, it was honestly amazing for them, because back in 7th grade, I actually got a chance to speak at Google, and I had the chance to get a tour of their facilities, their headquarters out in Mountain View and in LA. And so, when I first saw that, it was really inspiring, because it gave me a different point of view. It gave me a vision of what was possible, because I didn't even know it was possible for myself to be able to work at a tech company like Google that was just so robust and so amazing. And so, like, that inspired me to want to take my friends with me, or my peers with me as well. And so when we got to Netflix, when we got to Twitter, when we got to Google, and even Vector 90, it was different, because we didn't know. I mean, we knew that there were Black people that worked at those companies, but it was different to have an in-person experience and actually talk to them. We thought like everyone was kind of like a nerd, like that was white and that was, older. And so when we got the chance to get there, we actually spoke to one of the engineers there. And, she just came in from lunch. She had a bag of hot Cheetos and came in and just started eating it. And everybody was looking at her like, wait a minute. It kind of threw us off, because we didn't think that like people who worked at Netflix and who were computer scientists were just like us. Like, she was wearing the same clothes as us. We thought everyone was suited and booted or professional. No, they were like just chilling. And it was a comfortable environment. And we got to ask questions and communicate with them. And overall, it was just a great experience. In fact, almost everyone that went on the trip said that they will recommend that trip to a friend of theirs. And, I'm so glad that we were able to get it done, because we were super close to not pulling it off. We had to push the trip back a whole entire year. But if it wasn't for BET and Mr. Lewis Carr, we wouldn't have been able to get that done.
Yeah, you rolling with some big names, man.
Somebody said, I have a 3rd grader who is in coding club at her elementary school. Would your course be too advanced for her?
our goal is to try and get 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, but it depends how far along. Yet we're working on trying to get 5th graders yet, or in the future, but it might be a little bit too advanced. It just depends how much experience she has and how how good her computing skills are at the moment.
Okay. Can you do Zoom video? Do you know any good books? Somebody said, are there any good books about coding?
Honestly, I haven't really found on all the stuff I've looked up is all online, because those are where all the best resources are. But I haven't found any books yet. I'll look into it and try and get back with you on that one. But there is a bunch of free online resources that you can use to get familiarized with it, such as code.org, Grasshopper, Khan Academy, Code Academy, Free Code Camp, and just a list of others. If you look free computer science courses, you'll get a whole bunch of information that'll be able to not only inform you about what it is, but also teach you step by step and guide you to getting down the fundamentals and the basics.
MG, jump on the Zoom for a video real quick.
Yeah, I got a question. I mean, I know that you're based in Chicago, and this is obviously something that people can do throughout the country. Are you in contact with school districts that try to implement this into curriculums? Is that something that we're looking to scale in the future, or where we at with that?
Yeah, we work with Racine in Racine, Wisconsin. We actually work with a couple different schools, and we actually facilitated free computer science training for teachers so that they can be able to implement it into their classrooms. Now, we in Chicago, it was a little bit more difficult trying to work with different schools, with the whole school districts, trying to implement it into the schools. But really, our work has based in Racine, Wisconsin. We're trying to implement it there. But we're working to try and work in Chicago and also in Atlanta as well.
So as far as two questions. What are the grades again?
5th through 8th grade.
5th through 8th grade. So if somebody's in 9th grade, too old?
We'll make an exception.
Because somebody asked that question if a 9th grader. And then yeah, it's important for everybody to learn coding. Even adults, right? Even adults should learn coding.
Exactly. Like, no matter what anybody says, everyone can learn. It's not that hard to pick up. Like, I've seen adults around my grandparents' age that were able to learn it in like just a couple seconds. You think it's very difficult, but it's actually not that hard to pick up.
Yeah, I think computer technology is extremely important, man. Especially like right now. Like last week, I spent a lot of my time teaching the teachers how to use Google Classroom. They were completely unfamiliar. So like, that's what I'm thinking in terms of you. I've seen a lot of programs, whether it be the Mindfulness or Think First, or all these programs that come into these schools that get used for a day and they try to implement it. And I'm like, in 2 years, they won't be using this. Whereas something like what you're doing could be used forever, man. So exactly. I want to hopefully I could connect you with some people in school districts that we can make something happen here in New York, man, because it's vital. I don't know. The way it's looking, they said that this might be it, man. The school year might be distance learning from going forward.
Yeah, I heard a couple of my friends, they were talking about how the school year, they just ended it and they're going straight into summer vacation. This is basically they're on summer vacation right now because they're not going back until June, August, or September.
So you've been home. How long have you been homeschooled?
So I started homeschool my 8th grade year. I'm a sophomore now. So I've only been doing this for 3 years, but the first 8 years of my school life, I went to Skinner North Classical School. Sure. So it's not like I've been homeschooled my whole life. I did go to a public school, but I just started recently just because of my book project and all of Dream Hustle Co's work that we had to do.
How's that transition been for you, man?
Pardon me?
How's that transition been for you from public school down to homeschooling?
That first year was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. That it was hard for me because I went from seeing my friends every day to being kind of distant from them. And I'm a social guy. Like I love going out, I love being with people all the time. And it was kind of difficult to be in my 8th grade year, my freshman year. I started getting used to it. It was sometimes a little bit embarrassing. Like when somebody would ask me, "Hey, what school do you go?" So I'd be like, "Homeschool," because nobody really hears that. It's kind of different. But usually I get positive feedback when people when I say that. But now sophomore year, I'm comfortable. because it's not like I'm the only one being homeschooled. Technically, every kid in America, in the world, is being homeschooled too.
Right
So
now.
Yeah, right.
And
I mean,
that's why I bring it up, because it's so important. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is the guy who's been experiencing that. Are there some like keys that helped you get through this process? Because I'm looking at this parents that are here on this YouTube chat. Obviously, there's some young adults on here as well. Are there certain things that they should, you know, implement in their schedule to help them get through this time? Because this is new for a lot of us.
yeah, I mean, honestly, the best first thing you should do right now is just time management is critical, because we have so much free time. Like when you have so much free time, I tend to get lazy and just want to lay up all day, play video games, and watch Netflix. But you have to learn how to manage your time properly, not just kids, but also adults too. You know, I've been learning how to manage my time through daily logs, organizing my day, what time I'm supposed to be doing a certain activity since I was 6 years old. So that's been a huge role or a huge part of trying to keep me focused, you know, giving me times to, you know, chill, relax, and take a break, but also giving me time to stay focused as well. Also, on top of that, computer science, of course, you know, you should, even if you don't go onto our boot camp, there's still many free online resources that you can use. And also studying personal development, you know, trying to get your mindset right. You're having a positive mental attitude and trying to, you know, you implement that into everything, into every aspect of your life, because you know this is honestly is probably I know it sounds bad, but this is a great time for everyone because it gives us a chance to restart and start from the foundation, from the ground up, and building up the necessary tools. Like even though I'll give you an example, I used to go to the gym before this whole thing hit, but this is honestly giving me a chance to start doing at home exercising and to stay disciplined and to start doing things that I haven't done before. So honestly, this is an amazing opportunity for all of us. On top of that, you should get more reading done, exercise, and also study on financial literacy, trying to learn how to manage your money, what to invest in, what not to invest in, because you know this is a great time for all of us.
A couple questions. Somebody said, can you give a brief about concepts covered in the course? So yeah, I'll do that first. You can answer that first.
So some of the concepts we are using, one of the languages called JavaScript, and some of the things we're learning to do is how to, you know, tell the computer to implement or how to do certain functions. We're using things called loops, also variables, just trying to teach them the basic things on how to tell a computer to do one thing. Also teaching it how to do calculations. And we're just in the beginning stages right now because we just started the camp a week and a half ago. But you know, we're focusing on that aspect, and soon we'll get to learning how to build web pages, how to build mini games, and also how to build apps as well.
So like JavaScript, so you're giving the computer instructions. So it's to say, okay, this is how you add 2 + 2 on the computer. You're telling you're programming the computer to add 2 + 2 to equal 4, correct?
Yes, and also is a little bit other complicated things like saying if the sky is blue, make sure you do this. If it's not, then do that. You know, doing other different functions as well to make sure that the computer does certain things if it's in the right situation.
This is you when you do the coding, right? We're talking about black with the green writing screen, right? We're not talking what we're looking at now, right?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different because this is block coding. You know, you get the chance, you have the side that you get to, you know, program the computer, but you also get to see what the output is. It's not as confusing as you think it may be. It's not just going to be all black screen and just be typing. No. It's a guide that we're taking you through it. Grasshopper does an amazing job of taking you through the lessons and teaching you step by step of what to do. So it's not like you're just all stranded off trying to figure it out on your own. No, it takes it down and introduces it to you.
What's the capacity for the boot camp? How many students can we have in there?
Our goal is to try and get upwards of 100,000 kids, maybe a million, you know, as many as we can get. Because we're trying to introduce this to every kid in America, not just black and brown kids, but every kid, because the more the better. Because we're competing with not only other Americans, but we're competing with other nations in the world. You know, kids from India, China, Africa, Estonia, you name it. We're competing from all across the globe.
Yeah, somebody asked, is the program available in every state? I'm assuming, yeah. Right?
Yes, of course, it's online. You know, this is all online. It's not like we have to send you packages. We're all doing this online through Dream Hustle Code.
So as far as like for somebody like me who's never has no computer knowledge at all, how long would it take me to have a basic understanding of coding? If I just started from zero knowledge?
Well, most of the kids, about like 70% of the kids that have joined, this is their first time having computer science experience or doing anything with it. And like they're going through this quickly. Like I have one kid named Miles. He's so far ahead of the class that he's almost up to where I'm at. And so it's been only a week. And so it really depends what your pace is. It can take you a week to get down the basic fundamentals of it. Or for some kids or for some people, it might take longer, upwards of like a couple months. It really just depends how quick you're able to learn certain things. But honestly, you could probably learn this stuff in like the basic fundamentals in like 2 weeks.
All right, so we got
stay disciplined to it.
So the camp Dream Hustle Code is about coding, right? Are there phases to it? Like after I do it for 2 weeks, is there something else I learn? What's the duration of time during the camp?
So we have different levels. You know, the first couple of weeks are more so introduction. And if they do a good job and want to stick with the camp, we move into like learning how to build websites, learning actual coding, type coding, and not drag and drop coding. And so honestly, it depends on what pace you're going through. There's different levels. Once you get past the different stages, you'll just keep going higher and higher. And so eventually you won't need us anymore.
Like that.
So like how would somebody sign up for your program?
So what they would go to www.dreamhustlecode.com, and they just sign up there, put in all their information, fill out a survey. And then once they get into that, they'll start, since we were almost done with this week, they'll start next week, Monday, and we'll just, go through on a webinar link, take them through the basics, and just have fun with it.
So somebody's asking here, how does one get involved with the organization in regards to becoming an instructor? Are there open positions for that? Are we looking for new talent?
Yeah, well, of course, we're looking for open positions. If you could send us an email at teach@dreamhustlecode.com, that'd be awesome.
So as far as Chicago is one of our biggest markets, and we love Chicago. But obviously, it's a lot of issues in the city of Chicago, unfortunately. So, you have this program, it's a great program. Have you been able to have this in community centers or public school system in Chicago? Like, how has that? I'm interested to know. Like, have you been able to approach any public officials in Chicago? Or because I feel like this is something that young people everywhere, but it definitely in your hometown can definitely benefit from. How has that been?
So actually, one of my students was introduced into this boot camp last week through his mentor, who actually happens to be a police officer, Mr. Lamont. I've known him since I was real little. We actually got a funny story with him and my sister, but we're not getting to that. Mr. Lamont, he is a Chicago police officer who stopped and he actually paid for him for one of my students. And so the kid, he was blown away with this experience. And so this week, Mr. Lamont, he came back and paid for 4 more additional weeks for mentoring this kid. And, that was really unexpected, but we've had several people step up and want to sponsor this. And we're actually working to, work with the Chicago Police Department so that they can come on board in this boot camp at a 60% discount as well. And we're also working with Push Excel to try and implement this into their facility as well.
That's big time. That's big time. So Dream Hustle Code, you're 15 years old now, right, Ian?
Yes, sir.
15.
About to be 16 in August.
Oh, we right around the corner from that.
15, my bad. I said 14, my bad. 15.
So where do we see Dream Hustle Code in 5 years? You're 20 years old, or are we doing something long term? Where are we going with the vision?
Man, by then, hopefully, if this mini boot camp takes off, we will have millions of kids introduced into computer science. But we also came up with a concept called the community-based tech hub, which is delivered inside of underserved communities, which teaches kids computer science and personal development and financial literacy, and will also pipeline them into either 2 areas, job placement or into tech incubator, where they'll be able to create their own tech companies. So in 5 years, we plan on putting this community-based tech hub in at least 7 different cities across the United States, and hopefully in every state eventually.
Yeah, and it's important too, because like Mark Zuckerberg and Google, Elon Musk, they recently just dropped the requirement for college degrees to work at almost every major tech company has recently dropped the requirement of a college degree. And Elon Musk put it on Twitter. He's like, you don't need a college degree to work at Tesla if you know how to code. And people were saying, well, okay, but how do you learn how to code if you don't go to college?
Right.
But you don't have to go to college to learn how to code. You're
Right.
learning how to code now. You're not in college, obviously. So what are some jobs that, because I like what you said too. I'm gonna ask you about that, but like as far as creating your own company, but somebody had a question about what are some jobs. So what are some jobs that coders can get in like the tech field?
Are you talking about what like companies to apply for, or some
Well, not like
companies?
I like computer. I know computer programming. Obviously, you can do that. And gaming, you can create games, video games. And then like for Tesla, like coders, they
My
actually. So like
my
yeah, like,
my
what's some
audio just
job
went out. I didn't
opportunity,
hear it.
career opportunities for coders.
Well, honestly, there's many different career opportunities. There's a vast majority. Any field could use computer scientists, but for those of you that are looking to try and to get into it, because I don't have really experience in pipelining people into those. But one of the resources that you can use is look up Career Karma. They do a good job of teaching you the basics of computer science and teach you how to code. I'm not sure it's about a 3 to 6 month program. And so what it does is it doesn't charge you anything upfront, no upfront costs. The only thing they charge is once you are pipelined into the job, they ask that you pay them back of like a small percentage of like 5 to 10% of the paycheck that you make from the jobs that you're pipelined in. So if you're looking for different fields, I would suggest that you look into Career Karma.
Yeah, and then somebody say yeah, like video games, apps, websites, artificial intelligence, data analytics. Those are all things that coding, just learning how to code can help you out with. So it's not like it leads you into one field. Like
Exactly.
it's a variety of different areas that you can go into. Once you know how to code, it's a very valuable tool that you can use in a variety of different fields.
That's why we were saying 100%. If you learn this skill, there's a 100% chance you're gonna get drafted. I got a question for you. As far as the application itself or the site itself, is it compatible on cell phones? Like if I have my cell phone, can I be on Dream Hustle Code, or if I have the iPad, or do I need to have a computer to do this?
Not necessarily. Just the only problem, it's easier for you to use on a laptop because you have more access. Like if you wanted to hop on and say something to the audience, then you would have to have a laptop. But no, you can, well, with the basics that we're teaching, you can do this on an iPad on your phone because Grasshopper is compatible with iOS and also Android. You can download the app on your phone. But once you get into the higher levels of our camp and actually type coding, then you're gonna need a laptop. But in the first part, no, you can use your phone or iPad.
Yeah.
And it's important too because like a lot of kids are home and they play video games, and it's like
I'm guilty of that too.
yeah, so it's not like tech is something that's completely foreign, especially to kids. Everybody, all the kids have cell phones and they know iPads, they know how to work YouTube, they play video games all day. So they kind of already are into tech without even knowing that they're into tech. So it's something that like when you introduce it, I'm assuming that they actually enjoy it because it's like, okay, this is actually it's cool. Like, I mean, it's enjoyable and it's not like you're reading the dictionary for 60 pages. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's actually interactive. So
Right.
How has that been as far as like you watching kids learn and actually get excited? Like how has that helped you in your journey, like to want to keep doing it?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was kind of a little bit difficult for me because, I never really started teaching computer science. Like, yes, we have hosted events where I would, lead the class, but the kids would take it on their own. So this is honestly like the first time where I'm going through it with them step by step for multiple days. But like all the feedback that I've gotten and just hearing it, how the majority of the kids are excited and like how most of the kids, when I go on live and I set up the webinar, like half of the kids are already on there. That just shows that they're ready to be there. In fact, I got like a kid, Quentin. He's so excited that he wants to be on the calls, talking to everybody, showing everybody what he's doing, like step by step. And it honestly makes me feel good because it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, and it encourages me to want to help more people as well. And the feedback honestly is the most important thing, or the most important aspect of doing this camp. Because if I know that I'm doing a good job, then I can continue and expand this to help more kids.
Yeah, man. They're saying, this guy's answering questions that are hard for adults. Shout out to Ian. If y'all don't know Ian, let me just tell you, this is one of the most impressive, not just young men, but people that you'll ever meet. I still remember our encounter in Chicago, and I'm like, wait, I'm happy just to meet you. Remember I told you that? I'm like, yo, man, like you're 14. Like, I'm happy to meet you, my man. I got a question about college, because I know that I'm thinking of like the level of intelligence that you have now, and you kind of know what you want to do already. Is college something that you're looking at in the future? Is mom there? Because
Yeah, mom and dad are right here. We've already had this discussion before.
So
But
are we thinking about it?
honestly, like as of recently, like before, my goal was always to get in a top university. Like my goal was when I was little, I asked my parents what was the top college in America, and they said it was Harvard. So ever since when I was 9 years old, that was my goal to get into Harvard. But in seventh grade, I got interviewed by someone from Forbes magazine, and one of the questions was asked, well, if you're doing all of this, what's the point of going to college? That's when I started thinking like, I never really thought. I thought college was the end all be all. I thought that was what I was gonna do. But then now that I'm a sophomore in high school, I started thinking about it more. It's like, I mean, is there really a point? Because like I've learned a lot, and I'm not saying college isn't a bad thing. College, it's for some people, and it's not for some people. It just depends who you are. But with the network that I have and the people that I've met, and who knows where Dream Must Go or what I'm gonna do in the next 5 years, I don't know. I'm going to college in less than 3 years, so I couldn't give you an answer right now. But I'm opening my options whether I decide to go or not. So it really just depends what happens with or transpires within the next 3 years.
Yeah, man, it's good to have options. We come from a generation was like that was it. Like you after high school, you had to go. But it's one of the things that I'm thinking about for my kids, right? Like hopefully in 10 years when they're ready for college, they'll have a choice to make. Do they want to run this company, or do they want to run these properties that dad has founded for them, or do they want to pursue something on their own? So it's good to have options, man. And this is something that you have, right? Like Dream Hustle Code works. Hey, maybe I don't, but I might want to pursue education, continue. And you can always go back to education.
Exactly.
It never expires. It never expires.
Exactly. And also like I want to also do work. I've been listening to your podcast on YouTube for a minute, but I also want to not only do stuff in computer science, but I also want to do real estate investing as well. That's something that I started.
We know some people.
We gotta stay in contact, definitely. Like, yeah, I've been like learning how to do deal analysis. I almost put off my first wholesale deal back in summer 2019, but then
whoa, slow down. Don't say that so fast. You almost did your first wholesale deal?
Yeah, so what I did was I did the deal analysis, and I started calling the owner of the property. But then, it started like the owner wasn't calling me back or whatever. And so I did this through a trust to make sure I could protect myself. But then, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he passed a law where you had to have a real estate agent in order to, or somebody, I forgot what it was. I think it was a real estate agent in order to do wholesale. Or no, you had to have a real estate license in order to do wholesaling real estate. And so I don't have a license. I was 14 at the time. So that kind of killed all my dreams with trying to do wholesaling. But hopefully hopefully in the near future, I'll be able to buy my first property.
Yo, that's
so
crazy.
I saw that somebody was saying that Chicago, Illinois passed a law where they kind of pretty much outlawed wholesaling.
Yeah.
I guess unless you have a real estate license, and that's like, what made you want to do real estate wholesaling?
Honestly, it was my dad. I know my dad, he started doing real estate when he was younger. He was actually a part of the family construction company. And so he stopped doing real estate for a little bit, but then he started picking it back recently. And then he decided to start teaching me. My mom also taught me as well because she has some experience in that field. And so they just kind of like put me onto it. And I'm good with numbers. I can figure out numbers real quickly when it comes to pulling a deal. So since I'm good at numbers, it just drew my attention. And I hate to say, but like if you get the deal done and being good with numbers, it's kind of like pretty good money. It's legal, you're selling a house, you're doing all that, fixed flipping or buying, renting. It's honestly, to me, it sounds like a pretty good deal for me. You get to buy properties, flip it, and also like you got to think about it like this. Through video games, you're kind of in a sense doing the same thing. Like if you play 2K or Madden, and you play My Team or Ultimate Team, you kind of do the same thing with flipping cars, trying to make money, trying to purchase more cars or add to your portfolio in a real estate sense. And so that's kind of, it really all started with playing video games. I know that sounds crazy, but my real estate experience or dealing with numbers and trying to build a portfolio started with playing video games. So,
I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
Are you in the stocks at all?
No, not yet, not yet. I was thinking about it because I know that the stock market is plummeting right now because of this whole coronavirus. And I'm like, I was just having a conversation with my dad. We were talking about, man, the wealthy people in America, they're about to make a killing off of this because all they're gonna do is wait patiently until everything drops low. They're gonna buy everything up, and then when the market goes back up, they're gonna sell it all and make a huge profit, probably like tenfold what they started with. So
yeah, it sounds like you know about stocks.
Yeah, basically, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Yo, I'm super impressed. I'm gonna be honest with you. Shout out to mom and dad. They've done an amazing job because you try to create your first wholesaling deal, and before this year, I didn't even know what wholesaling was. That's incredible, man.
Thank you. I mean, it was pretty tricky in the beginning trying to learn all the terms or what have you, and trying to, because I'm a kid. If I was to go in this space, my dad told me if you were to go in this space, you have to be fully prepared. You got to know everything just so that, they'll take you seriously. And so in the beginning, I kind of struggled, but I'm just grateful that my mom and dad, they kept guiding me. They kept pushing me even since I was 4 years old. And really, it honestly takes a village, to help raise me and to help raise any kid. But I'm just grateful for them and also God being here, just, opening the right doors and closing the right doors and just keeping me focused on this track.
No, I appreciate that. Any more questions?
Yeah, anybody in Zoom, if you got a question, you can raise your hand and we'll give you the mic.
And I think it's important also to acknowledge that his financial literacy starts at home. So like he said, he learned about wholesaling from his dad. So this is why it's important to educate yourself if you have children, because you're not only educating yourself, but you're also educating your children by learning these things that we talk about on the podcast all the time. It's like, okay, now you're putting yourself in a better situation, but you're also putting your children in a better situation as well. Because now you can't teach somebody what you don't know, whether it's stocks, real estate, business, or whatever. So yeah, it's extremely important. I think that you're a very fine example of that as far as, obviously you've done the work yourself, but you have a great foundation at home. And that's more than half the battle right there.
Yeah, man. And you just gave me a gem. Like, I didn't even think about using the video games as a way to teach financial literacy. But what you just said about Madden is so true, right? And 2K, these ultimate packs and having to trade the cards. I'm like, wow, he just gave me something. Is financial literacy something that you're teaching in Dream Hustle Code, you said?
It's one of the things that we want to eventually implement. The more people we get involved, the more likely we're going to have, because originally we wanted to have personal development, financial literacy, and then computer science. But, because of the timing issue, we only could do the personal development, computer science portion. But soon we look forward to implementing personal or financial literacy, just the basics of it, savings, teaching them how to save money, how to spend it, how to invest in it, all that, those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I'm definitely gonna add that video game into a lesson. You just gave me something. Thank you.
No problem.
That was a gem right there. Yeah. Any more questions?
Are the classes live? So on Dream Hustle Code, are the classes live or are they pre-recorded and archived?
Yeah, so all of them are live so far. We send you the webinar link. There's a password. Just fill in your information. And so, everything is live. I'm able to interact. There's a chat. You can ask me questions. Let me know what sections you're stuck on. And it's easier to do it live because if it was pre-recorded, they wouldn't be able to ask me questions. I mean, even if they did, I wouldn't be able to answer them as fast. So just going live, it allows me to have more control and to make it a better experience for everybody.
How do you assess the progress?
Pardon me?
How do you assess the progress? Is there an assessment at the end of each, I guess, and I'm talking to school terms, at the end of each unit, there's an assessment to say, yes, you have mastered this task and let's move on to the next. Are there assessment barriers within the program?
Yeah, so the program that we use is called Grasshopper, and they do a good job of making sure that, yes, you're doing these certain assignments, but they have little quizzes at the end of like each section. Okay. So you can't advance until you get that answer or question correct. So it's the same thing in school. Like if you fail a test, you're not going to, or you fail a grade, you're not going to move on. If you fail that certain portion of Code Academy, you're not going to move on. And so once you finish like each section, like so far we finished as a class, the first class, 3 sections: fundamentals 1, 2, and intro to interviewing. And at the end of each section, they give you a little certificate that you can either send to your email or print out. But yeah, you can't move on until you get everything correct, so, which is the beautiful thing about it, is there's no way of skipping around it until you get it right.
Yeah, so Grasshopper is the platform. You're creating the content and putting it on there for them to answer. Is that how that works?
Yeah, so I use Grasshopper as a platform to teach them. But really, I'm just there as a guide and a mentor to help if they have any questions, and also to show them like what to do in the first couple steps. But yeah, we'll use Grasshopper, Java, or excuse me, Khan Academy, Code Academy, and even code.org. You know, these are all other resources.
Yeah, Khan Academy is something I discovered over the past 2 weeks, man. And I think that's an amazing platform. 40 different languages, all types of subjects. He was actually featured in Forbes last week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
awesome.
It's the perfect timing for him, right? Like everybody's home learning online, so Khan Academy.
Honestly, that's what I've been using for homeschool. Like I've been using Khan Academy for learning math and science for the past 3 years. You know, it's awesome because it's free, and you also get a chance to have actual videos that break it down step by step.
Yep.
And you can go back and watch the videos if you still don't understand. So that's the beautiful part about
man. I'm telling you, these resources, like, had this not happened, we wouldn't have known a lot of these resources. Like my son's in kindergarten, we're using IXL, which is a program that I hadn't used prior to this. Khan Academy is one of those. So there are silver linings in these times of unprecedented times of a virus taking over a country.
Ian, man, it's been a pleasure. Can you tell the people one last time all the information for your program, how they can get started, the ages for the kids, everything that they need to know?
Right. So right now we're hosting our new Nerd Mini Boot Camp, which teaches computer science and personal development for kids from 5th through 8th grade. The way you can find out all of our information is at www.dreamhustlecode.com, or you can DM us on Instagram at dreamhustlecode as well.
All right. And shout out to EYL University, all the members that's in here from EYL University. Yeah. We just started our private real estate group. We have a private real estate group on Facebook. Mm-hmm. All EYL University members have access to that, but you can sign up just for the private real estate group if you want to just do that. So that's on Facebook. So check that out, EYLUniversity.com. And next week we got a big week. We got 2 stock classes.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Wall Street Trapper and Ian Dunlap.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big one for us. So
you are officially our youngest EYL guest, EYL University guest, and we got a special treat coming for the younger audience next week on Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that too.
Yeah, and then we know after this Corona stuff clears up, let's definitely connect in person for sure.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys for having us. You know, I've been waiting for this moment since we first met back in September to come on.
Nah, appreciate you, man. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff together. So keep up the good work. Keep fighting the good fight. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, whenever you need somebody to do some financial literacy, you know the number, man. And give mom and dad our love.
Absolutely. And I might have you come on our live webinar courses for the boot camp, just to talk about it and help out the kids, because we need some live presenters, not just me. We're trying to get, celebrities, people like you to help teach the kids, because we need different faces. It can't just be my face every time, or else they might get bored. Who knows?
Sure.
Let's do it. So, all right, bro.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me. Again, everyone have a wonderful weekend. And if you wanted to find us for the boot camp, it's www.dreamhustlecode.com.
Appreciate you, bro. Stay safe, man.
All right, you too.
Peace.